never forget that cup of coffee. Well, a couple years ago, I was traveling when my schedule worked out on Christmas Eve. I thought the airport was going to be the zoo, so I got there a couple hours early. It wasn't crowded at all, so for me, that means coffee. So I get down into my Terminal D, and I see the green sign. And when I travel these days, I always wear earbuds, so I'm rocking out to Coldplay. And I see the sign, I get in line, and there's one woman in front of me, and she's having a very animated conversation with the barista. She's kind of waving her arms, and they're both smiling and laughing. So I wasn't in a rush, but out of curiosity, I popped out my earbuds. And sure enough, they're going on about their holidays and their plans and the kids and presents, and she starts to move down the line. So it's my turn to order. And I was greeted with this very warm and sincere welcome. This woman said to me, "Hi, my name is Lily. What's your name?" I said, "I'm Ryan." She said, "Ryan, what can I make for you today?" I said, "Well, I want a grande pumpkin spice latte." She said, "You want whipped cream on that, don't you?" I said, yeah, I want the whipped cream. She said, "I'll tell you what I'm going to do." She said, "I'm going to make it extra hot, load it up with whipped cream, sprinkle a little nutmeg on top. That's how I like it. You're going to love it." I said, "Sounds great." She said, "So where are you going?" I said, "Cleveland." She said, "Are you going back to Cleveland to spend the holiday with your family?" I said, "Yes." Now at this point, I start looking around for the camera, right? I'm trying to get a latte. So I move down the line, and the conversation continues, and she's funny. She's asking me questions about my family and our holiday traditions. She's laughing, and I'm laughing. And she hands me my drink and says to me, "Ryan, have a safe trip back to Cleveland. Go create some extraordinary memories with your family. When you come back to the Minneapolis airport, I want you to stop here and tell me all about it." Because I get my drink, I start walking away, and I stop and I look back at this woman, and I think to myself, it's Christmas Eve. Most people would rather be anywhere else in the world than serving coffee in an airport. Not her. It was like she was meant to be there. And I couldn't help myself. I had to go back. So I did. I walked back and I said, "Excuse me, Lily." And she jumps around. "Ryan, is everything okay with the latte?" I said, "No." I said, "The latte is perfect. I just had to come back and ask you, what is your secret to making such meaningful connections over serving coffee?" Well, she corrected me. She said, "Ryan, not serving coffee." I said, "Okay, what are you doing?" She had thought about this. And what she told me was, "I'm pouring happiness into people's lives." I said, "You're pouring what?" Like, what is pouring happiness? And her definition of pouring happiness, she wants to be happy in her life. She wants to be around happy people. She cares about her customers. She wants them to come back. So she chooses, even on Christmas Eve, to smile, to have fun, to help people, to just be happy. Instead of just focusing on how to be successful, focus on how to be helpful. The other thing she understands and masters straight away is the very specific and intentional decision around how she chooses to show up, even on Christmas Eve. You know this. A lot of things happen and working in our lives and beyond our sphere of influence or control. She doesn't control the weather in Minneapolis. Trust me, I live there. All she gets to own is how she chooses to respond to those things. Decide how you show up. It's interesting, when I met Lily, she would have had no way of knowing this, but I was pretty heavy in the heart and had a lot on my mind. My parents, both retired school teachers, married 45 years. About 3 months before that holiday, I got a call from Mom. We got some really tough medical news about Dad. There was a terminal diagnosis, and we knew we probably weren't going to have a lot of time. So I was sitting in that airport on Christmas Eve, not in the best place in the world. I will never forget that cup of coffee. When you decide to show up consistently as the best version of who you are, it gives you your best opportunity to meet people where they are. And you never know when someone needs you to be your best.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm not P. Larry. Probably tell because I'm much younger. Hope he's watching. My name's Michael Nelson. I've spoken here once before. And P asked me to fill in today. He's in New York. Thanks, P. It's scary to talk to you people. Fortunately, I can't really make you out because of this bright light right here. I want to talk to you today about perspective. So in that video right there, it's a really good example of how one person chooses how to handle their situation. Has anyone here ever had to work a holiday, or maybe you didn't work a holiday, but you were away from family on a holiday? That's hard, isn't it? It's tough. My family, I'm from Louisiana, so I don't get to see them that often. It's like you gotta pick a holiday if you can make it. But so in the video, he's talking about how he just went in for the coffee, and then Lily says she's not pouring coffee, she's pouring happiness. Like, kind of cheesy, right? But hey, you know what? It made a really good point, and actually that's exactly what she did. So I want to talk about how we can do something like Lily did that's really simple that could have the potential to have a big impact on others. So, how do you say hello? When you meet someone new, or anybody maybe you already know, what's your engagement like? You say, hey, how are you? I'm good. You? Good. Did you really listen, or did you really ask? Or are we just going through the motions? I know I'm guilty of doing that. Like, hey, I'm good. I'm in sales. I talk to a lot of people every day. Most of the time, I would like for them to buy my product so they can make money. But in sales, you get a lot of no's too. But what the cool thing is, there's a lot of opportunity for me on every single day to make at least an impact on one person. So even if I have a no in my professional life, I think in my personal life, if I could change someone's day, make it better, that's as good as a sale for me. So, with the opportunity to speak to a lot of people, I tried a little social experiment, right, to beat the Lily. And so instead of like when somebody says, hey, how you doing? Good, you, blah, blah, blah. I go, I'm awesome. And I'll even raise my voice a little bit and I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm awesome. Sometimes I'll say, I'm freaking awesome. That's the Christian accepted word for another word. You know what I mean? Let me say that here. I wanted to see if by making one small tweak, would that have an impact on people that I met? And it did. I've been doing this for about 6 weeks now. And instead of like a programmatic response, I'm getting awesome responses in return. So I'm seeing different facial expressions. I'm hearing different tones. People are more engaged. And so my hope is by pouring out my awesomeness, if you will, they'll take that with them through the rest of their day and share it. Because they're gonna talk to a lot of people through the rest of the day. If in that one moment, just by saying I'm awesome, they feel awesome, and then the rest of the day, everything and every person they touch is awesome. How powerful is that? God gives us all several gifts. Oftentimes we don't identify all of them, but there's one that we all share, and that's our ability to change people's perspective. Not saying it's easy, not saying it's gonna be like some monumental feat that you can accomplish, but to turn someone's day around, like maybe it's not that bad, that's a win. So, what I want to coach you all to try to do this week is to get out of your program responses and have really engaged interactions with people you meet. I want to show you, this is a comic I found. So in this comic, there's a superhero fighting a supervillain. And his dad's here and he says, cool. And then the child says, I wish we had powers. He looks down at his thing and he goes, see that sad looking guy with the ugly hat? That ugly hat, yeah. He says, watch. Hey, your hat is awesome, ugly. And you're awesome for wearing it. The guy said, okay. But then what happens is you see the guy's attitude change. He's smiling now. He was depressed before. And the father says, now look at his face. He says, we all have powers. Like, how hard was that really to do? Even if he's lying, you know? Yeah, you look good in that. But the point is to get somebody to feel better about themselves. Because what's going to happen in return is they're going to continue to spread that to other people. So I want to share here. When you focus on your problems, you will have more problems. When you focus on possibilities, you will have more opportunities. That's big. And I'm going to give you I'm going to go into 3 personal examples here of my life, of how I had to learn that. Phrase here, or a verse from the Bible here I really love is, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. That's basically you agreeing, acknowledging that you can do whatever you want, as long as you have the right frame of mind, as long as you don't get in your own way. So, this used to be my office. I'm from Baton Rouge. This was my dream job. I got it like shortly after college, and it was very cool. I had all access pass, and anybody knows about sports knows that's gold. Like, you guys go on the field? Yeah. I've seen some really cool games. I got paid to do it. It's like, well, what were you doing here? Like, well, there was this girl. So, said girl is no longer, together. However, we have a child together. And that's been challenging over the years, right? Anytime you have that. I've been to this place a couple of times. This is a courthouse in Woodstock. So, this is the place where a stranger in a gown behind a big desk told me when and where I can see my son. That killed me. I remember that day, my folks, they came up to be there with me for support, because I basically, at that time, it was just me, I was all alone. And so, I just remember my mom begging me to eat, but, on a day you get information like that, there's no appetite. So, I was in a pretty dark spot, and it took a while, it took a long time, but, I went to counseling, for about 2 years, and finally it started to click that I had control of how I handle everyday life. So yes, there's this horrible thing that I went through, right? That our family went through. But counseling helped shift my focus and have a different perspective. There were years where it was bad. Like I said, I've been there. I got like a punch card. Been there so many times, right? But now, I said, you know what? We're gonna make this better. Have a different perspective. And just this past Friday, I was able to have a phone conversation about my son's school with his mother for like 30 minutes, and not once did she blame me for something. Like, what? I dated that. I'm gonna come back to that one. But so I decided I want to have a better relationship. We're gonna focus on positives, not what's been negative in the past. I know of some people that they still don't get along with their child's significant, other parent, and the kid could be like 50. So I don't want that for my kid. And one day he's gonna grow up, and I want him to, be able to look back and know what he's been through, to know how to be a man when he becomes one himself. So, a lot of people don't know, when I was 15, I was diagnosed with cancer. And as we all know, cancer sucks. It's pretty bad. I'm sure we at least know somebody that's been affected by it. And it's not pretty. So what I want to do is I want to break down this experience for you, both how the negative and the positive, right? So there was trying times, and it was bad, but at some point it is what it is, right? Do we want to stay where we are in that mental state? I didn't. Chose not to. So I was 15 years old. I was diagnosed with cancer. And guys, what's the most embarrassing cancer you think you can get? I guess. Testicular? Yeah, all right. They're saying breast cancer in the first one. I was like, okay. Yeah, testicular cancer. 15, I was in high school. Puberty. Remember being a teenager? What was important? Man, it's like taking me out the game quick. So, but my priorities were obviously way back then, way out of line. I was more worried about what people were going to say if they found out than the fact that, yeah, cancer kills people, you know? How dumb was I? Jeez. But so, it's cool, you know. I lost a member of the family, of the tribe. And it was funny because I was worried about nicknames in high school, right? I don't need to call them certain names. Then you get to college, and I finally owned it. It's like, bring it, uno, solo, lefty. Embrace it. It was hilarious. People forgot my real name. That's cool. So, but the chemo does suck. If you ever have to go through it, I pray for you. It's at least 20 years ago. I've heard it's gotten better. Hope I don't find out. But it just ruins your taste buds, right? Like everything tastes awful. And I remember mac and cheese, my favorite food. I couldn't eat it. It was just so gross. And like this other thing that affects you is your sleep. You get insomnia. And there was a 10-day stretch where I didn't sleep at all in 10 days. I laid in my bed in the dark, just like, waiting on morning so we can do this all over again. So, and then, you know, in those moments when you're by yourself in the dark, bald, missing parts, you can really start to get down on yourself and get into some dark places. And I could have stayed there, you know, but I made a decision, you know, I wanted to flip it. And so here's how that went. Testicular cancer is probably one of the most curable cancers there are. Right? Like, I'm not saying high five your bro if you get the diagnosis, but be pretty psyched. I think it's like 96, 98% cure rate. So instead of dwelling on what you have, let's be grateful that your life will most likely continue.
Amen. Amen.
I'm here today with some evidence. And also, try to find humility and humble yourself with what's going on in the world, right? Like I said, in high school, I was embarrassed. College, owned it. Still kind of do. So I want to share like 2 quick stories about my dad during this experience. And you know, back then I couldn't have imagined how my parents handled that type of situation. But now that I'm a dad, I get it. One thing my dad and I have in common is we have a very weird sense of humor. I blame him, so it's his fault. But, oh man. So, you know, you find out you're diagnosed, okay, you got testicular cancer. Next day, time to go to the body shop. You're gonna remove parts, right? But anyway, so I go into surgery, you know, to have that guy gone, and I'm in the bed afterwards, coming kind of back to it, and I'm still kind of groggy, and my dad comes up to me, you know, in a very compassionate way. He puts his hand on my shoulder. He says, "Son, I saw him taken." I was like, "Oh, yeah." Took 2 nurses to push the cart. Now I'm still at it, so I'm like, but I'm dying on the inside. I mean, what? In that moment, that scary moment, it's very emotional to deliver a line like that. That was gold. Gosh, and he doesn't stop. I mean, we're at like a post-op appointment, and they're talking about, you get prosthetics. And, okay. My dad had the nerve to say, "Can you play music?" So if you ever question my sense of humor, blame that dude. But what my father showed me then that I didn't see until I was older, is he took a pretty bad time and made it light. We could have dwelled on the fears that come with cancer, or we could just make light of it and make the best of our situation.
Amen.
And that's what we did.
Amen.
That experience also changed who I was as a person. I used to be shy. People that know me here probably never believe that. But once you go through something like that, you stop worrying about what other people think about you because it doesn't really matter because you can't control that. All you can control is how you make other people feel, right?
Amen.
So that's where my focus shifted. And so I embarrass myself a lot, but it makes people smile. And if I can improve someone's day that easy, I'll do it. And then so God does have a sense of humor. He lowered my ammo, but then he still gave me 3 kids.
Amen. Amen.
Easy now. My wife told me the other day she got that metallic taste in her mouth. For those of you that don't know, that means you could be pregnant. We're not ready. All right. I gotta see you guys some scissors, All right. We're gonna jump into it. That's them. Yeah, knuckleheads. All right. So I want to talk about some biblical examples of people having the right perspective. Right here we've got Paul and Silas in prison. They were thrown in prison for a public nuisance. But so while they're in prison one evening, it's around midnight, they're praying, they're singing hymns, and massive earthquake comes. The jail doors fall off, their shackles come off. And they could have run, but they didn't. And so this one guard, fearing, everybody got away, was about to kill himself, and then they said, "Stop!" And they were, inevitably they get out, but my point in this is that they kept their faith, they kept their focus on God. They could have easily sulked. You couldn't go anywhere, they're in shackles, but they didn't let that happen. This is Daniel in the lion's den. I would have sold myself if I was in that situation. But he didn't. He's got that faith, and he had the right perspective that that's okay throwing in there. Because, you got to put it in there because he continued to pray to God when he was supposed to pray to the king. But he like I said, he had the right perspective, and he had the right focus, and he knew that when he was in there, he'd be fine, and he was. And Pastor Larry lately has been talking a lot about this guy, Job. Man. So, God tells the devil, go ahead, do anything you want to him, except kill him. And he took full advantage of that. He lost his finances, he lost his health, he lost his family. But through it all, he kept his faith. And he was ultimately rewarded. He got everything back ×2. So, you gotta have the right perspective. So, anybody like stay-at-home mom or dad here? We got any of those? No? Gosh. Okay, well I'm gonna bring you into my world. So, like I said, we're blessed. These aren't my kids, they ain't my wife, and I don't know whose dog that is. But I found this on Facebook one day, I thought it was pretty funny. It says, waiting for my husband to get home from for work, And so this got me thinking about, my life. Because my wife does stay at home, we made a decision together. Therefore, that means I go out and make the money, right? And I'm in sales, like I said earlier, and that requires a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of time. And so, usually I'll be gone before everyone's awake, and there's days where I get home after the kids are asleep. It just depends on where I go, what I gotta do that day. And so, there's 2 ways to look at this. Okay, I just put in 10, 11, 12, 13 hours. When I get home, I've earned the couch, right? I get to rest. I shouldn't have to come home and, if I do make it home before the kids are asleep, help with baths or get into bed, brush your teeth, and then pick up all the toys and burp cloths off the floor in the living room, and then prepare dinner and clean up the dishes. And then I got to think, well, what about her day? Right? So she wakes up when they wake up. If anybody that's been a mom or dad knows that there's no set clock to that time. And then so we got 2 in diapers. So we got a 2.5-year-old, and our youngest turned 6 months yesterday. So, and oh my gosh, I couldn't do it. I did offer though before we made this decision to be the stay-at-home dad. I'm really glad she didn't take me up on that. but I offered. That's points, right? If she's watching. But like, so if anyone who has multiple kids under diapers, you know they don't sync like an iPhone and an iWatch. So the youngest takes like 3 or 4 naps a day. The older one takes 1, if she does. So she'll do her best to try to get it to where they at least nap at the same time, right? But that doesn't always happen. And on most days, she maybe gets 15 minutes to herself. So like imagine if you had a job where you work 12-hour shifts and your employer told you get 1 15-minute break. You wouldn't stand for that, right? There was some sort of government agency stepping in and saying that's wrong. But that's what she goes through. So by better understanding, changing my perspective from myself to her, like, wow, yeah, I can't really complain. I could be in my car, listen to music, I don't have to listen to these twerps whining and pooping and peeing all day. Maybe I don't have that bad. But so instead, I come home and it's more unified. It eliminates any kind of feelings of resentfulness because we have the same goal. We're moving together. This is a picture of me and my oldest. It's one of my favorite pictures. My sister snapped it. Becoming a father was one of the greatest lessons taught me about unfailing love that God has for us. When you look into your child's eyes and they're looking back at you, you've got that connection. That's a little glimpse at just a tiny speck of how much God loves you. So, when you first became a parent, did you ever think that there's, for any reason you wouldn't do anything you could for your child, no matter how bad they were? You'll always be there for your children. And I think we need to focus and remember that's our God up top, right? We're going to make mistakes. It's inevitable. He knew this when he created us, so it's his fault. No, but so my point is that we just need to know that he's there, even though when it feels like he might not be there, he is. He's going to allow us to make mistakes. He's not going to bail us out every time. I tell my daughter stop jumping on the couch. She jumps on the couch, falls on the floor. What's your takeaway? She's 2, she doesn't take away. So lean on God when you don't understand. I'm sure we've all been in those moments where we're like, why is this happening to me? What did I do? I don't deserve this. It's not fair. Maybe you got fired from work, kids can't get it under control. Do you blame yourself? Blame other people? How long do you stay in that frame of mind of dwelling on the negativity of it all? Could you instead reprogram your brain to think differently? Like, instead of complaining about the challenges, just acknowledge them. And then the next step is how you move past them. Don't hide from the negativity. It's there. Shine a light on it so you can move forward. So, I used to play video games when I was little, and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was one of them. It's great. Back in the day, you younger ones that have all the games on apps and stuff like that, you used to have to research and find the cheat code. It's like you were never going to fight Mike Tyson on Mike Tyson's Punch-Out unless you had a cheat code. You didn't have to get knocked out right away, but it was still worth it. Nowadays, you can just pay more money on the app and you can skip a level or whatever. My oldest is 7, he's like, Dad, I want some Robux. Every time I go to Walmart, he looks at the gift card section. Look. What? Robux, for those of you all that don't know, is a fictional currency that costs real money. Come on, Dad. Birthday, Christmas. So, I want to talk about cheat codes with regards to our lives. We have cheat codes for everyday challenges. The greatest creator there created it, and it's called the Bible. And the great thing is, you don't even have to pay to have the Bible. If you got a smartphone, you can download that puppy for free. And then so I just want to show you this. I love the app for several reasons. Sometimes I'll spend a while on it. Sometimes I'll just look for the verse of the day just to see something. And here's just 2 quick verses I'll show that are cheat codes on life for you. So Proverbs 3, 5-6 trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. Why is this happening to me? Don't worry about that. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. He's got your back, all right? Let him worry about it.
Amen.
Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. So there you go, man. It's telling you. Do you believe it, right? I mean, it's there. It's in the book. That's the cheat code right there to life. So we need to, whenever we have challenges, don't focus on the problem, focus on the solution. So I got a really cool story that happened here in the valley. I'm going to hurry up so I don't keep you all late. So my wife and I, like I said, we have 2 kids. Sleep schedules don't match. So we often come to different services. Like I'll usually come to the first one, usually come to the next one. And on September 25th, or 15th, I'm at home and then my phone's kind of blowing up from some of the guys here. I'm like, wow, good for Ellen. Ellen's my wife, by the way. That's awesome. I'm like, okay, something's happening. Cool, can't wait for her to get home and tell me about it. And finally, I can't let her know that there's something happening, right? So I wait, and it didn't take long. Like about 5 minutes after getting home, she just unloads on me. She tells me what happened. She had stood up. You know, at the end of the service, sometimes Larry will ask, you know, is there anybody who wants to, give their life or just have any more questions? And then you can raise your hand and say, thank you, thank you. Sometimes it gets you standing, but everyone else has to bow and eyes are closed so nobody sees them, right? Well, no. And he's like, okay, stand up. And then he brings her up front. And my wife is not that person that craves attention. That's probably how she felt, right there, with all eyes on her. And so she gets home and she starts to cry. She's telling me what happens, and she asks me this question. You know, she goes, "How do you know?" You know, like God, Jesus, heaven, all that. How do you know? I like to think I'm the spiritual leader of the family, so I just had to tell her. I was like, I can't give you an exact answer. I don't think there is one. There's a feeling of calmness of just knowing where you're going. Mm-hmm. So I said, but there's a really good book that'll help answer questions. And so I said, it's the YouVersion now. So we downloaded it. I downloaded it on our phone right then and there. I said, there's some really cool features in this. You know, you can do plans. Like type in anything. Say like you have anxiety. Type in anxiety, it'll give you a bunch of options and plans. And what it does is it, whoever writes the plan talks about like what it means, and then there's specific Bible verses that relate to it. And then I learned that you could do plans together, so we started one right then and there together, and it was really cool. Because at that, it's different from there when you do it with somebody else. When you're done with the day's reading, you put your notes there. And it's really cool to see what the other person's takeaway was, to give you a different kind of perspective. And so I said, just walking through all the different features, I said, some days I just read the verse of the day, just to kind of get a little whatever. And I told her, it's really neat. It's like, it feels like sometimes that the verse was written directly for me. 7 billion people on this planet, but the creator of YouVersion was like, hey Mike, I got you today. It's happened multiple times. And I told her that, I was like, it's not spooky anymore, it's just kind of cool. And so I said, let's check out the verse today, okay? This is the verse on the day where she stood in front of everyone and accepted Christ. For it is by believing in your heart that you are made right with God, and it is by openly declaring your faith that you are saved.
Amen.
I'm about to drop my phone. I just told her, I feel like sometimes it's written just for me. And here we are, and it was written just for her. The next day, I shared it with the guys in men's group, and I had to take a screenshot. That's why I said it yesterday. And they were floored. So I was really grateful to have an immediate example of how the book works. So I really suggest you guys pour into it as little or as much as you can. So I got one more video here. I'm going to show you. It's only about a minute. And then we'll get you guys out of here so we can go eat.
Amen. Amen.
No matter how bad your situation is, somebody's got it worse. Way worse. Be grateful for what you have and share what you have with others, whether that be your finances, your labor, or just maybe your time. God gave us all gifts too good not to share with others. Give God praises for the blessings in your life. And in those moments when you start to pity yourself, get down on yourself because of your situation you're in, flip it. Focus on what you can do to make somebody else's life better. You'll be amazed at what you get in return. All right, let's bow our heads. Father, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Always an honor. As we go back into the routine of our lives, please be in our hearts and guide our thoughts. Help us to be appreciative of what we have and what we can do to make someone else's life better. Give us the perspective to see the riches that already exist in our lives and the wherewithal to remember to give thanks for everything. Please help us find an opportunity this week to make someone's day even better, even if it's just by simply tweaking how we say hello. Thank you for all that you do. In Jesus' name we pray. All God's children said?
Amen.
Amen.